Good morning. Good morning. Today is Thursday, May 18th. Gosh, almost out of the month of May already. But anyway, it's May 18th in the year of our Lord 2023. I remember when I was a kid in my elementary school library, Halley Elementary in Detroit, Michigan. I remember being in the library. I don't know the types of things we talked about in there with our teacher, but we talked about a lot of stuff. But I can remember thinking that wow, in 2050, oh, I mean, 2000, I'll be, and I, said what my age is going to be. I go back sometimes to my little girl's mind. I wonder what I would have said about 2023. I mean, it's just awesome and mind boggling that we are in this 21st century and that, some of us were born a really long time ago. So it's just amazing to me. Good morning. Good morning. I want to say a special good morning to anybody who's having a rough day, who had a rough day yesterday, or who had a rough week. I want to say inhale and exhale the anxiety that kind of stuff brings into your life. And before I do this reading this morning, and I hope that you are purchasing my book, Rest for the Justice Seeking Soul. I hope that you'll get it because I think it's good stuff. I'm still trying to get a volume 2 done. But I was thinking this morning about how, with all of the stuff that's going on politically, how with all the guns that are out, one of the things that doesn't get talked about too much is the rise in gun deaths due to domestic violence. I'm just like bothered by that. It seems that people are more than willing to just whip out a gun whenever they get mad at anybody. So that's why there's so much street violence. And contrary to reports that we hear in the media, which has a vested interest in keeping the narrative going that the only bad people are the black people. Anyway, we won't even get into that. But contrary to that, what we don't hear much about are all of the incidents of domestic violence where women are being shot and killed, and men, but primarily women are being shot and killed when people get into a domestic abuse, disagreement. And it just bothers my soul. Does that bother your soul? That just bothers me. And it's super scary. And I hope that if anybody listening uh, knows someone who is going through that, or maybe you're going through it yourself, that you will find somebody to talk to and find someone to help you get out of that space. I know that many times people, women who are abused by their mates won't leave because of a number of different reasons. But you got to do it. You got to move. You got to get away from anybody who's abusing you. My mama always told me. She said, "If a man will hit you once, he will hit you again." I was little and I can remember her saying that. Now, I don't know what had gone on in her life to make her so adamant about that, but she said that and did not bat an eye. And every time she said it, and she said it frequently, she said, "I need you to remember that if a man will hit you once, he will hit you again." And then she just go on about her business. And I'd be standing there, but I've never forgotten it. And it just seems true. So, the cycle. So somebody will hit you, push you, I don't know, verbally, emotionally abuse you, and then just go on about their business and then come back and apologize and bring you flowers and tell you that they'll never do it again. But they're going to do it again. It must be an addiction. I think there's something in all of us that makes us prone to do certain things. It's an addiction. It's addiction that needs to be treated. And we need to address it and we need to talk about it. So I don't know. I just woke up with that on my mind. Maybe somebody in my listening sphere is going through it, or maybe you know somebody that's going through it. But please, if you're going through it, please, please, please ask God for the strength to get out of there. Find a way to get out of there, and get the help. Get yourself protected. And the other thing is to get your children. Make sure your children are protected. Don't let your little girls see you being beat to a pulp by a man, because then she'll grow up thinking that that's what she's supposed to do, or she won't like you, or she'll disrespect you. You don't want any of that. So I don't know. I just need for y'all to listen to that and to think about that and to take some actions if you're going through that. It's just a super scary thing and a super serious issue, and it is on the rise. So that's my little rant for this morning. Today, I've been asking you to buy the book. I hope that you're doing it. Still have a few more to sell. I don't know. I just wish that we'd have like a mammoth, like outpouring of people purchasing the book. But that may or may not happen. I still want to believe that it's going to happen. But anyway, I continue to write these meditations every single Tuesday, every single Tuesday. Um, and so what I have started to do is pull up the meditations to read to you that I have sent out during the week. Now, if there's a meditation from the book that you want me to read, you can always put that, tell me on Facebook, and I'll certainly pull that up. You have to tell me like before Thursday morning, though, because I prepare, this little get up with the camera and all that. I prepare it, and then I know what I'm going to read, so you can't tell me like right at the second that we're on to do it. But if there's a meditation in that book that you want me to read, please let me know and I'll do it. But today I'm going to read the one that I sent out this past Tuesday, and it's called Finding the Power of Light. Following the murders of Medgar Evers, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and Robert Kennedy Jr., playwright James Baldwin found himself in a deep funk. The casualties of the civil rights movement had been too much. It was not only the big name leaders who were taking hits, as evidenced by the killing of 4 little girls at 16th Street Baptist Church. Those who resented the push by Black people for civil and human rights had no guardrails and exercised little to no restraint. They didn't care who they killed. It just gives me goosebumps. The murders of unarmed but determined Black citizens who fought to be treated as human beings had only caused anger and resentment among whites. I just heard something about how the John Birch Society, filled with very wealthy white people, and a lot of white women who just hated the civil rights movement. They hated the fact that Black people were getting rights. They don't like Jews either, but this, the fact that any human being would hate the quest of people to be free, that just blows my mind. But that is a real thing. The Daughters of the Confederacy as well. They're groups of people who just don't want Black people to have rights and don't want women to have rights either, if we're talking. So anyway, the murders of these unarmed but determined Black citizens who fought to be treated as human beings and only caused anger and resentment among whites. Author David Leeming says in his book, James Baldwin, about biography, that following the murder of Kennedy, something forever shifted in Baldwin, in James Baldwin. He said to his secretary, whom he called with the news of Kennedy's assassination, that the murders were, quote, a product of a nation devoured by an inner sickness. A nation, he said, that could murder a Medgar Evers and the Birmingham children and not seem to care, was in deep trouble. And he added, everyone is in trouble, not just the Negroes, but every living soul, end quote. It was a dark time in history, and Baldwin, through his writing, fought to make sense of all that was going on and to bring hope to a time which very well could have been snuffed out by a feeling of hopelessness. That's what they do. They try to take away our hope. Can't let that happen. Hopelessness could not be allowed to win, and he knew it. He wrote as he rested and wrestled with his emotions in light of these murders. And he wrote, something entered into me which I cannot describe, but it was then that I resolved that nothing under heaven would prevent me from getting this play done. He was talking about Blues for Mr. Charlie. We are walking in terrible darkness here, and this is one man's attempt to bear witness to the reality and the power of light, end quote. The darkness of stormy times makes those times more unbearable and frightening, adding to one's anxiety, depression, and fears. In the aftermath of a horrible ice storm here in Columbus some years ago, there was a massive power outage all over the state. With no power, there was no heat and no light. I tried my best to stay in my house with my dogs, huddled up under my comforters, but it was not enough. It was too cold, and we had to make our way to a hotel that had a generator. Every day, I would leave that hotel and drive into my neighborhood to see if there was power. And I knew as soon as I got in the neighborhood that there wasn't any, because traffic lights weren't even working. I can remember it now. It still gives me goosebumps. It was a horrible time, and it was so cold. So I knew when I would drive into the neighborhood that there was no power, and I would just drive away, and I'd be very, very depressed. When there is no light, and there's no power, there can be no light. It's a very depressing thing. The struggle we all have from time to time is to find the power within us that will begin to help us to feel hope and thus see light in our darkest days, or on our darkest days. Without power, there can be no light, and without light, there can be no progress, no movement from the places causing pain to the places where there is liberation and change and freedom. If we lose our belief in the power within us, we lose hope, and thus the drive to keep on keeping on, as the people used to say. We lose the power of the message that we are not going to let nobody turn us around. The power that is within us is the pilot that, when lit, gives us light. We cannot depend on others to convince us that we have power. We have to know that it's there ourselves, and then we have to own it. We have to know that that power is greater than any force or circumstance that wants us to fail and to fall. It is the greater that is in us that we see written in the Bible. It is not given by humans and therefore cannot be taken away from humans, though humans can damage it. But damaged hope is still hope. I like that. Damaged hope is still hope. It's still hope. You can break your arm, but you still got an arm. Damaged hope is still hope. Damaged hope can be lit. It can be repaired. It can be lit. It can be booted. Damaged hope can it be repaired and renewed? Damaged hope is new strength and power wanting and waiting to be let loose. It was 1968 when Baldwin said that we in this country were walking in terrible darkness, and it feels that same way now. It's very, very scary. Too many people in this nation do not care about innocent people who are killed or are thrust into untenable suffering because of unjust, unkind, and unethical decisions and policies that are being made. If we wanted, we could give up. You know what I'm saying? If we wanted, we could give up. Our hope for justice has taken so many hits, but I'm just going to believe we don't want to. We're a little tired. We're a little tired, and that's okay. But I have to believe that we do not want to give up. We do not, and we cannot. Damaged hope is just that. It's damaged hope. It can still be lit and produce the light with which darkness is obliterated and neutralized. I can hear God saying, "Fear not. Go on and do the work." That's in the Bible someplace. You know where it is. I can feel God telling us to move our despondency and our depression over, move it out of the way so that God can fill us with her spirit and give us the power that only comes from God. The guns and the lawless laws that breaks me up. The lawless laws and the unfair policies, the political shenanigans, and the corrupt judicial system, and the desire of a few to control the many is not in the end stronger than the power of light. To that end, may we always be seeking the way to find the power within us to provide the light that we need to fight those who want us to give up. Amen and amen. I am hoping that that message resonates with you. It kind of made me feel a little bit better because you do. It's a battle. It's a battle to keep fighting for justice because the people in power um, are relentless and they've been planning and scheming for a long time. They just want this very small group of wealthy, primarily white people, because it ain't all white people. These people are called anti-Semitics, but there's Jewish people among their ranks, there's black people, there's Hispanics. Oh, so it's a group. But the primary group of the primary membership of this group of people are wealthy white men, and they want to stay in power. So we have to say, no, I ain't going to let nobody turn me around. I'm not going to do it. So we have to take care of taking care of our hope. So we have to take care of making sure that we give ourselves enough room for that pilot within us to be lit so that we can have light. And from light comes power. From light comes power. I hope that you're listening to this because we really have to hold on. We have to hold on and help each other. We have to strengthen each other. We have to encourage each other. We have to, kick each other, make them work. Everybody should be registering people to vote. Everybody should be telling people who are despondent and don't do that. Don't go there. That ain't it. Not voting is not an option. If we do not vote, we're all going to be under the control of a very small group of people who want to take away all of our rights. The only right they seem to be wanting to protect is the Second Amendment, and that Second Amendment is largely responsible for the amount of domestic violence cases going up and women dying. Do you see how it all connects? Everything connects everything. So I hope that this meditation is feeding your soul and helping you and encouraging you. And if you have questions, making you talk and wrestle with yourself, with your own beliefs, with your friends, with your family. That's why we do these. That's why I hope that you'll buy the book. And that's why I hope that you'll come back next week. Thank you for coming this morning. Know that I love you. I love you for coming. And I hope that you'll come back next week and bring somebody with you.